I'm going to make two blocks that work with lists. So here I have created a list, and usually when I write a script that works with lists, I usually have this delete at the beginning. I'm deleting everything and then adding a bunch of names to my list. And the name of my list is called friends name. So if I run this thing, you can see it creates a list on the side, and it has all of my friends' names: Sue, Sam, Liz, Max, Bob, Max. Must be another Max. I have two Maxes there. Lou and Liz I think I have there as well. So this is twice as well. So this is my list of friends' names. Notice they all have 3 letters. I'm not sure why that is. Anyway, the first block I'm going to make is a block which just is a command. I want it to read all of the names of my list. So I'll say read all names in, and the variable that I'm passing in is a list. I'm naming it list, but I could call it anything. Maybe I'll call it names, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Actually, I'm going to call it list because it is a list of some items. And I'm going to put it in the list category, and it's a command block. Okay, so read all names in list. So whatever list I pass into it, it'll read all the names. In order to go through every names in the list, I need some kind of repeat block, and probably the easiest one to use is a for loop. So I've already imported the for loop. You know how to do that. And I'm going to go through from 1 to the length of the list. Well, how do I get the length of this list? In the list tab, one of these commands should tell me the length of a list. Here it is, length of. So I'm going to go from 1 to the length of the list. And it's important, I don't want to call this friends names. That's the length of this particular list. But I want it to be the length of any list that I'm passing into this block. So I'll paste that in there. I'm going to go from 1 to the length of the list. And then I'm just going to say each name in the list for maybe 1 second. So how am I going to get each name in the list? I'll go back to variables, and it's one of these list commands. How am I going to get each item in the list? Well, that is item I of list. If I said say item 1 of the list, it would just say Sue every time. I don't want that. I want every item as I loop through. So that is item I of list. Oh, now I've really messed it up. All right, let's see if I can fix this. You're going to do it too, and this way you'll know what to do if that happens. So I just pasted it into the wrong place. Let's see if I can actually put this in the right place. Okay, so it's going to go from 1 to the length of my list, say item I of list. But what is item I? Well, first, it's 1, so it'll say item 1 of the list. Then I will be 2, it'll say item 2 of the list, and so forth. So let's give that a run and see if that works out. So where is that? That should be down here somewhere where I've created my new blocks. There's a lot of blocks that it adds, but here it is. Read all names in list, and the name of my list is friends names. So let's see if this works. Sue, Sam, Liz, and so forth. So you can see it goes through and reads each name one at a time in my list. And I'm just using a for loop to do that. And hopefully you're seeing how for loops can be kind of useful at this point. So I'm going to make one more block. I'll try to do it real quick. This next block is going to go through my list and replace a name with a new name. So I'll call it replace. Oops, I'm not typing anywhere. It's going to be another command block in list. There we go. It's going to replace all of some particular item. It's going to replace all of item A, it's just a variable, with another item in my list. Replace all occurrences of A with B in list. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I know I'm going to use a for loop again. So I'm just going to edit this guy. And I'm just going to grab all of this. Oops, I should have really copied this. Let's copy this. Don't want to mess up my original block. So I'm going to go through the entire list for I equals 1 to length of list. I'm using the same variable here. Instead of saying each item, I want to check to see if it's the item that I want to replace. So I'm going to need some kind of if, kind of decision block. So how am I going to figure out if that item is the item that I'm looking for? Well, I can just say if item I, I've got to be careful to paste this in the right place, if item I of the list is equal to the thing that I want to replace, well, that variable is called A, then how am I going to replace it with B? In other words, if I want to replace Sue with Jim, let's say, for example, so I found Sue, how do I replace that particular item? Well, let's look underneath the variables, underneath the list, and see if there's anything that replaces items. And in fact, there's a replace block that I can put in. So what do I want to replace? I want to replace item I of my list, which is called list in this particular example, with the new item, which is item B. And lists are confusing to students the first time you work with them. Actually, for a while they're confusing. Students often get confused with the item number in the list and the actual item. I just represents a bunch of numbers. It's the item, like for example, I is 3. Okay, well there's 3, but that 3 is not the item in the list. Liz is the item in the list. So if I say item 3 of the list, well now I'm talking about something in the list, like Liz or Max or Bob or something like that. But if I'm just talking about I, that's the item number. It's not the item itself, it's the number of the item. Anyway, I'm going to replace item number I in my list with B. So let's see if that works. Give this a run, and hopefully it's down there. Where is my replace? There it is. So let's try that. Let's try to replace Liz with, I don't know, Jane in my list, and my list is called friends names. I'm just going to grab it from above and let's see if this works. So if you look at the list on the side and see if that actually works. I have 1, 2 Liz's. Let's see if they both get replaced. They did. So I think that works. And let's take a quick look at it again. So I'm going through my entire list, one item at a time, and I'm checking to see if that particular item is equal to the one that I want to get rid of, and if it is, I'm replacing it with the new item. I'm replacing item number I in the list with the new item. So hopefully that makes some sense. Start working with lists, and I cannot stress enough how important this is in programming languages in general. Everything is stored in lists. It's a very important data structure. All right, get to work.